Hello and welcome to this Next.js tutorial video. So in this video we'll start building on a simple Next.js application, which will be a simple showcase kind of an app where I don't have the final version of the app at the moment. So I'll be adding features as we progress through the video. This will be a multiple part video tutorial. So this will be the first part, where we'll see how to get started with the Next.js application. I'll be using React, TypeScript extra in this application, and we'll be using Material UI for our UI components. So at the moment, or like in this particular video, we'll be building this for this header portion that you're seeing. It will be the header portion we'll be designing, and we'll be adding this menu and the search bar and some buttons and all. So it will basically be a UI portion and setting up the Next.js 14 application. So let's get started by creating our Next.js application. I'm using Next.js 14 for this video tutorial. So you can type in npx create next app @ 14.0.0 for creating the Next.js application. So it will ask for what is your next app name. So I'll mention next first app. Would you like to use TypeScript? Yes. Would you like to use ESLint? No, at the moment. Tailwind CSS? No. src directory? Yes. Apparatus? Yes. Customize? No. That should that should help you get started with your Next.js application. So once the dependencies and everything are installed, you should be having your Next.js application with some boilerplate code. So once the project has been created, you need to navigate to the project directory, which is next first app. Once inside the directory, you can do npm run dev. That should run your Next.js project with the boilerplate code. Right. So this is the default boilerplate code that we have. So once this is up and running, we can go to the project existing code. I'll just open the code inside the VS Code, go to file, folder, and the next first app. Okay, I'll just walk you through the default code at the moment. So if you go to inside the src folder, you have the app folder. Inside app, you have on layout.tsx, that's the root layout of our application. And here you can see it's accepting child as props. And this child comes from the page.tsx file. This is the one, so that's the default root layout, or the root layout. This is the root layout of our application, which has the HTML tag and the body stuff and all. So what I'll do is I'll remove the existing code from here. So we'll just remove this thing. I'll remove this, and we can create some different sections for our application. I'll declare a header tag. Once we have the headers, after headers we can have section, then we can have a footer. Right, for the time being, or like in this video, we'll be focusing on the header area. So this header will be having a component called logo, which we'll be defining shortly, and we will also have the nav bar. Inside we can add something called menu. Also, after the header, like after the nav bar, we can have a search component and some action buttons. I'll just save this thing, and also I'll remove the existing code from the page.module.css, which is the CSS for our thing. I'll just save this thing. I'll comment out maybe these two things for the time being. And we can create a logo and menu. So I'll go to my app folder, inside app. So let's start by creating a logo component. Inside I'll be having a folder structure called components, inside which we'll be having logo dot tsx. Here we'll have logo, right? And our logo will be what? Remove this thing. This will be an image component, the next image component. You can add width 32, height 32. We'll add an alt tag, which will be logo, and an src, which will be, maybe I'll have the next svg. Next.svg. Let's see if it works. So I'll go to my page.tsx and we can import the logo from there. That's it. Similarly, we can define the menu component. Inside components, I'll add one more structure called menu.tsx, and here we name it to menu. Inside menu we can have, inside menu we can have a UL and an li list. So I'll define UL. Inside we can have li's. I'll just copy this thing. 3, 4 and 5. I added just 5 files here, 5 li's. Save these things. I'll just keep some default menus, which will be home, docs, blog, contact, enterprise. That should do. And I'll go to page.tsx and I'll import menu also. Right, if I save this thing, I just run the project. npm run dev. Now once the application is up and running, we can refresh the page. Refresh the browser, you can see this thing up in here. So here you have the logo and here the li and the ul. We can provide a bit of a styling on this thing. So I'll go to my page.tsx. I'll add a style for, I'll go to the header, add a class name, which will be styles.header. I'll go to page.module.this, and inside I'll add a style called header. Header I'll add display as flex, and let's see how it's modifying this stuff also. So I added display flex here. So I'll just maybe drag it here, that way it's visible, right? Okay, I'll just add display flex. I'll add a flex direction too, which will be row. I'll save this thing, right? Maybe we can add some padding. Okay, I'll just remove this from the main. Just keep the min height. I'll just remove this thing, and the display also is not required at the moment. I remove those things. Okay, so now this thing goes there, and then display as row. We can add some padding on this thing, which will be around, let's say, 10 pixel at the moment. Once done, we can align the items to center, right? Add some background color maybe. background color, which will be hash EU3C3C, right. Now once this is done, we can style up our menu also. For that, we need to go to the menu.tsx and we need to add a file called menu.module.css, and we can use this thing inside our menu. So I'll just add a couple of things here. Here we can add some styles, so we first need to import the styles inside the menu. I'll go here, I'll import styles from menu.css. Now once this has been imported, I'll go to the UL, add a class name, styles, I'll name something called a menu container, and inside this we can have some styles for the LIs also. It will be styles menu container menu hyphen item. I'll just copy this thing and add it to all the lines. Here, okay, and there you go. Now once this has been added, we just need to add these things to the menu.module.css also. So I'll add .menu container, right? Inside we'll be adding, let's go menu hyphen item. Okay, here one thing that we need to check is this style. Actually, since we are using SCSS here, which needs to be SCSS, so I'll just rename this thing to SCSS, right? Now it should be working fine. And I need to change the import also to be SCSS, right? Now that should be fine. For this to use Next.js build and support, okay, we just need to install SAS. So I'll just add this also. I'll go to my console, I'll do this minus save. That should install SAS and we should be able to get this working. Now once this has been installed, this should be up and running. So I'll just run it once again, npm run dev, and we can try refreshing our application. So once this is up and running, once I refresh, you should be able to see how the error goes away and we have this stuff here. So I'll go to menu documents, I'll add some, for this I'll add some display flex on this thing. By default it has flex direction as row, so we don't need to add that thing, and we can add a list style for the ULs as none. That should give, that's it, that should do away with the dots, the ULs. And for menu items we can add padding 0 pixel for top bottoms and 10 pixel for left and right. That should do. So this way we get this, right? So the menu seems to be sorted. That should be fine. So at the moment we have hard-coded the menu items and all. Once we are done with designing this stuff, maybe we can fetch this thing from some API or something. Now once this is done, let's go to page.tsx. Inside page.tsx I'll uncomment the search. Okay, I'll just redo this thing. Okay, so now we can uncomment these two things, right? I'll just save these things. So this is throwing error since we don't have these things, so I'll just add a search component from here. I'll go to menu or components, I'll add something called search.tsx. Once you have search, we'll also be requiring styles for this thing, so I'll just add search dot module dot SCSS. Okay, and inside the search I'll just define the component search, and inside we can add an input stuff. We can add an input, right? I'll add a simple input. Maybe we can modify it later, but for the time being maybe we can use an input. I'll add a class to this thing. Class name, let's put it like styles dot, okay, styles search. Okay, that's getting in the way, so I'll just styles, and we haven't defined styles, so I'll just import that too. Styles from, great. Once this is done, add a style. I'll just also add a type to this thing, which will be search. Okay, now I'll just import this thing in our page.tsx. Imported, that goes away. I'll just comment out the action buttons, and now you can see the search bar here. Let's add some styling on this thing. Okay, I'll go to search for this thing, add a search class for this thing. Search, let's add a height. Let's give it some height of, let's say, 30 pixels. Let's add some border radius. Let's add some border radius, which will be around, let's say, 10 pixels. Okay, then that looks too much. Let's give it 5. Okay, that looks fine. I'll just remove the borders of this thing. So border will be none, and we're gonna have some width on this thing, let's say around 300 pixels. That should be good. Now that should be good. Okay, on focus also we need to remove the borders, so I'll do search focus and do something called outline none. That should do away with this border on clicking on this thing. Okay, we also need to add some padding here, so I'll just go like padding from the left, let's say 10 pixels. Once you click inside, you can see you should be able to type in, right? Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, we're leaving it there. So at the rightmost portion we can add some more stuff. Maybe the action button, maybe some buttons there. So I'll just create the action buttons. I'll uncomment this thing from here, the action buttons. Once uncommented, we'll go to the components, add some component called action buttons. So I'll just create something called action button / action buttons.tsx. Once this is there, I'll just add the component here, action buttons. Okay, now that does it. Inside you can add a couple of buttons. So we'll be using Material UI for these buttons, so let's add in some Material UI. So I think it's just Angular. Okay, it's Material UI, right? So let's see. For this, we need to install Angular Material UI. This way, I just copied the command from here. Come to my project console, add in this -- save. That should install Angular Material UI. So once this is getting installed, I'll just remove the existing code from here. And let's set a container for our buttons. Class name would be, let's name it styles. Inside btn container, right? And styles we can import from something called action buttons.module.scss. Okay, come to this. Something is happening down here, I'm not sure what. Let's have a look. Okay, it's installed. Nothing serious, I believe. I'll just import the styles here. Import styles from. Okay, now once this is installed, now inside I'll be adding some buttons or Material UI buttons. Let's add in some buttons. I think it's already there, so I'll just add the buttons from here. I'll add 2 buttons maybe. Copy this thing, paste. This will be what do we name it? We can name it deploy, similar to something on VI. So deploy and learn maybe. Maybe register. Yeah, that should be fine. Or maybe let's add sign in. Register. Right, that should be fine. Let's also add some styles for the buttons. Class name, styles, button. I'll just copy this thing, paste it here also. So once this is done, I'll go to my page.tsx. I'll import this thing from there. Not sure why it's not showing up. Let's see, action buttons. Okay, it's action buttons, that's why. So I'll import it from here. Once it is done, I'll go to my page. It has some errors. What's the error? Action button is not defined. I'll just okay, our app is not running at the moment. The installation is still not done. Not sure why. Maybe the connection seems a bit slow. I'll just try it once again. Yeah, just wait for this thing to get completed. Okay, now that thing got installed, I'll just run the application npm run dev, and that should run the application. Inside the action buttons, as you can see, we have these buttons and all. We need to, let's see if we need any styling on that page. I'll just refresh the application. So here, as you can see, we have the buttons and all, but the stylings and all, everything is not there. It's just simple buttons. So I'll go to my button styles and let's add some styling there. Let's add some styles to the buttons. So I'll just define these things inside the button container. So this button containers we can define here, not button containers. And for the button, let's add some height, 30 pixels, and some width, 100 pixel. Should be good. Yeah. So once we have added those things, we also need some background color. Background color, let's add white. Right, now we also need to add some padding stuff and all, or some margins maybe. For this, I'll just add some margin from the left. Margin from the left. Keep it like 20 pixels maybe. 20 pixels. Yeah, maybe let's just keep it 10 pixels. Okay, that's there. And on the button also, I just need to add some margins to get some gap in between the buttons. So margin will be 0 pixel on the top and bottom, and let's add some 10 pixels on the left and right portions. Now as you can see, we have these buttons, right? Also let's add some hovering on the menu. I'll just go to menu, modules, menu items, cursor, pointer. It's pointed, right? Okay, so now as you can see, we just added a menu and a header bar for this application. Now so this is what we have at the moment. Okay, here you can see we are yet to make it responsive. So in the coming videos, we'll be making this thing responsive too. So for the time being, I think there's some extra space on this thing which can be occupied by this thing. So we can add maybe a flex on this thing. Flex 1. Okay, that does the job. So we add flex 1 on the nav bar. That occupies the extra space. So I'll just add this thing too. I'll go to my page.module.this, and inside I can define class for the nav one and add a flex of 1. So once done, it should be good, I believe. Seems like we haven't added the nav class here. We can add something called class name as styles.nav. That should work, right? So now this thing seems not so bad actually. So in this video we saw how we can start a Next.js 14 project, and as the first step towards our simple Next.js application, we just created the header portion which has this logo and this menu and a search bar, 2 buttons. We used Material UI also on this thing. So in the coming videos we'll be taking this application further by adding some more features on this thing and taking it a bit too slow. So this is specifically aimed at people who are beginners in Next.js, React and UI and etc. So I hope you find this video useful. I'll be adding the source code for this thing onto my GitHub so you can follow it up. So I'll be publishing the next video once I'm ready with the next portion. So I hope you find this video useful. Do let me know your feedback and thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.